Hey, expert investors. We're here with Mr. Eric Cleary, the property manager with a man bun, who's the only guy. The man bun gives him superpowers. That's why I love the guy. Um, but in all seriousness, property management is something we don't talk about enough in great detail. I think it's something we're always like, yeah, just do it on your own or just hire the property manager. But it's a skill set, and I've been doing this for 11 years, and I manage a bunch of my own properties. Some of my properties actually Eric manages, also the ones that are further away. But it's a skill set, and you can suck at it. Is what I'm trying to say. And if you're really good at it, not only does it help your lifestyle and make things easier for you, it makes your properties much more profitable. And before we jump into it, Eric, I want to say, I almost feel bad for property managers, because when the investor does really well, the investor is always the hero. And when things go to the proverbial, what hits the fan, it's always the property manager's fault. So you guys never get the glory you deserve, and I think it's sometimes a challenging business. But the property managers, you guys are the backbone. You guys are doing a good job keeping everything going and steady and dealing with all the problems, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, to your point, yeah, there's a lot of clients that obviously really appreciate everything we do. And they see the value in the services we provide. They see how hard our staff are working, day and night, some of them with the 24/7 emergency line and whatnot. So, overall, is it a challenging business? Yes, but I never go too deep down that rabbit hole where I think, this segment of the market is so much tougher. I think building any business is a challenge.
Right.
Systems, processes, something that's reliable and predictable. And if you offer that service to people, you can do well. But it's following through. And a lot of property managers in the business, where maybe you hear that bad reputation, I think that stigma stems from the guys that don't follow through, and they make these promises because it's easy to make a promise on the phone. Oh yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll do this, and then the follow through doesn't happen, and that's where I think a lot of that negativity stems from, for sure.
Promises made and not kept. And we're not here to bash property managers, but we've seen so many of them come and go in our time and working with so many investors, and it's the promise, yeah, we can help you, but they don't have the capacity to help, and then it all goes to what. So I'm glad we have a good relationship with you guys. But for the investors listening to this intro video, we're going to cover a bunch of stuff, very important stuff on property management, specifically if you're doing it on your own, what to do and how to perform better. I want to improve your performance. And if you're hiring a property manager, I want you to know what someone like Eric does and his business, when his business is working well. And you still have to know how to manage the manager. That's still part of what you do. You don't just pass it off and forget about it totally. So that's some of the stuff we're going to cover. Read all the benefits there on the left side. Those are some specific points. But before we end this one, Eric, I want to say, I want to ask you, what's the biggest mistake or things or something that investors overlook often that you're able to kind of resolve quickly and help people get on the right track?
Yeah, I think if you've ever listened to any of my podcasts, and I can put some links in here for your investors after if they want to go back and see some of the other content I've done. My message has been consistent since day one. Real estate investing is a business, and the moment you stop treating it as so is the moment it stops performing like a business. And what I mean by that is, landlords and investors get comfortable, right? Oh, my tenant, they've been there for a year. They start to get comfortable with late payments. They start to not take some of the maintenance requests as serious. Maybe they take that extra day or two because they've given the flexibility to the tenant to pay late. So for me, it's the moment that you stop having a really organized system and process of how you deal with things is where you start to see it fall apart. And what you think is a good relationship between you and your tenant can actually start to deteriorate because you're going to get frustrated. Your tenant's going to get frustrated, and things can just sort of boil over from there. The other thing I see that's very common is owners not or assuming everything's okay. They're not going to the property. They may not be there for 6 months, 9 months, a year. Oh, well, they've been paying on time. I drove by when I was down visiting friends 2 months ago. It looked okay. That right there is putting too much trust. And it doesn't mean you can't have an amazing relationship with your tenant. think Orange, our company, has a wonderful relationship with the majority of our tenants. It doesn't mean we don't serve N4s on time. Doesn't mean we don't show up every 3 months to do an inspection. Doesn't mean I don't hold them accountable for the things that they need to be held accountable for. So for me, if I could give any advice to any landlord investor, is really come up with a plan and follow through. And if anything, if you're someone like me who really does care about relationships, and I have a win-win mindset, so someone doesn't have to lose, then the more strict you are on yourself in those processes and the things you put in place, the better that relationship will actually be. So that laid back mentality of, oh, it's okay, that actually in the long run can hurt you more than, listen, we had an agreement, this was the agreement. Does that mean you can't bend here and there? Of course, nothing's perfect, but I just mean the consistent action and being upfront with what your expectations are. Any relationship, I think, can be successful as long as expectations are met.
I learned that the hard way, and I boil that down to just a little bit of self-discipline when you're kind of dealing with your tenants, and from just, I won't go into the story here, we don't have time, but when you get burned and you get burned early, you just learn the hard way. And I have a special way of learning the hard way. But
as do I, my friend. And just the inspections, guys, like and just quickly, I know we don't have a ton of time. Like, so when for the first 2 years, I was Orange List, right? And it was just me and Brian, and I was kind of doing the calls, the maintenance, the leasing, everything. I'd have owners call me and they'd be like, hey, Eric, how's everything going? I see the rent's been coming in, like, life's good. How's my house? And I'm like, I think it's good. It doesn't mean we're not working in the background, right? But just, I didn't have a specific reason to physically go there myself. So then we came up with the quarterly inspection, so that when someone like you calls and says, Eric, what's going on? Oh, we were there last month. Everything looks great. And for any investor landlord doing it themselves, that's very important. You don't have to go every 3 months. There's no law or requirement for you to go that often. You definitely got to go once a year. My advice to you would be to go at least 2 times a year. Gives you a chance to check in on your investment, make sure it's healthy, make sure everything looks good, preventative maintenance. But it also gives the tenant this notion that they're being held accountable, right? That maybe they do got to do a big, deep clean. At least that's happening twice a year if they are messy tenants, or at least they're thinking and living consciously, knowing that the owner will be checking in and holding them accountable. So sorry, I'm rambling a little bit in the intro. No. These are really important things that can save investors time, money, energy, and a lot of stress, as you know.
I can't wait to hear you ramble in the presentation. No, I like it. Discipline, accountability, that's what keeps businesses running, and we don't expect anyone to be perfect. But if you stick to it, that's where kind of results come. And you hit a good point that I want to remind people on, and we're going to talk about it in more detail, is just relationship with tenants. I mean, don't confuse yourself. We're not saying bend over backwards to do anything your tenant requests, but I think it's really important to set expectations and have some empathy when you're dealing with your tenants, and some compassion, because sometimes they get stuck. And if you help them, but still continue with your agreements and stay disciplined to what the rules are, they'll learn to respect you. And I think that's important. When they lose respect for you, then it all goes to, 100%,
man, 100%. Well said.
Yeah. So we're going to cover a bunch. I appreciate this, Eric. February 19th, 9 a.m. We're going to cover all the stuff you see here. And I want to leave everybody with a system. So if you're managing on your own, you got all your checklists, you got all your points, and you know exactly what to do. And if you're looking for a good property manager, hopefully Eric will be able to shine and show you what they can do. All right, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if you could have all your guests send you a reminder email to send me a grande Americano on February 19th at 8:45. I want to make sure I'm in the zone. If I don't have my coffee,
all right.
I want this presentation to be good. So I appreciate that, everybody.
You're going to have 20 coffees waiting for you.
I told everyone to remind you to send me one.
All right, Eric, I appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you guys. I look forward to it. See you on the 19th.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.